Hey everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Bar podcast. I'm your host, Denise Tova, and today we are going to have some fun. We will have a great conversation with a man who thrives barely on any sleep, just like me. Meet Jasmin Alić, known as Jay from Hey Jay. Um, he is not only a Fortune 500 copywriter, but he is the world's number one ranked LinkedIn growth beast. And I really mean it. With over, 200,000 followers hanging on to every word on social media, and I'm one of them. Jay is on this like a relentless pursuit to help people perfect their brand and online writing to help them skyrocket their business growth. But you know what? This powerhouse of productivity, he's also a great dad and has an interesting background in music and teaching. So, Jay, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Denisa. I have no idea what to add there. You said it all. So thank you for the warm introduction. That was on point.
Well, don't thank me yet. We actually do have a lot in common. Let me throw something at you. As I'm interviewing very interesting guests from all walks of life, it seems like many people can easily define themselves by what they do and their profession. So I'm curious, if you were to leave out what you do for a living and you only had a span of an elevator ride to share your story, how would you introduce the essence of Jay?
I love this question just because I've actually given this challenge to my own self. So, Denisa, whenever I introduce myself to people, I just say, I write, I coach, I speak. Because ultimately, writing is a part of my life. I'm writing for brands, I'm writing for myself, I'm writing for others. I'm speaking on stages across the world, but what I'm mostly doing through all of that is coaching people how to build better, stronger, more powerful, more present brands online. And then we take it into the real world. So essentially, my whole thing is branding beyond just social media. That's what I do essentially. So, even though the grunt of my work is online, we're really just changing lives out there and changing businesses and people outside of social media. So there you go. Was that a good elevator pitch?
That was amazing. You see, and I thought I would throw you off, and now no, listen, I mean, that just goes into saying that you are very in tune with, who you are. And, I think for us, it's so deeply when you're passionate about what you do, it's so deeply ingrained in who you are. And if you truly believe in delivering value and helping people, I mean, it just shows through and through. Your story is really interesting. And I think more so for sort of staying consistent and persistent, like literally. So I do have a couple of questions. So I know that your journey on LinkedIn has been it's almost like it's like a love and hate initially, right? I mean, you attempted to post in 2020, I think, with little or no engagement. Then you left for maybe a year. And then in 2021, I believe you came back, added, basically posted for several weeks. And now you go and you have, I think, one of your posts attained like over 2 million views. I mean, so what changed going from barely getting any action to like catapulting you to a LinkedIn stardom, so to speak?
Thank you. So my LinkedIn journey has been very specific in my own world. But I feel like if you talk to people, you'll see that a lot of people are going through the same exact journey in their own rights. A lot of people come to LinkedIn with the wrong expectations. They just focus on the likes. They just focus on how many comments they're going to get on a post. They focus on how many views they're going to get. And then when it doesn't happen initially, people quit. And that leads to failure, right? I always say most people don't fail, they quit. And that is just
Mm.
so powerful because it happened to me twice. Like you said, in 2020, I started posting on LinkedIn and I didn't get a whole lot of engagement on my posts, but because that's what I was focusing on, right? I didn't know better back then. And I quit like just 5 days in. and I wasted an entire year just looking at other people who were, quite frankly, in the same niche as me, same, I wouldn't even say same quality. That sounded pretentious, but it's true.
Yeah.
They were making strides. They were moving forward, Denisa. And I
Mm.
wasted an entire year just waiting because I was focused on the wrong metrics. But then next year, 2021, I came back to LinkedIn. I started posting again. I was like, nope, not happening again. You're not going to quit again. So I lasted for 5 weeks and I did. I kind of quit again because I just wasn't seeing the value
Mm.
outside of just posting and people not engaging with my posts. I was like, how are all these folks getting so much traction on their posts and I'm not? And I know, like, when I read their stuff, it's really not that good. And then I read my own, I'm like, this is super valuable. Like,
Right.
people should pay for this. And I'm giving it out for free. The real crossroads was January 1st, 2022, which was not that long ago. I decided I wasn't going to do the same exact thing that I said. I wasn't just going to post and wait for people to come to me. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep posting either way. I don't care if I keep getting 0 likes, 0 views, 0 whatever for months and months, into the future. But what I'm going to do is I'm gonna proactively go out there, pursue new people, and meet people, connect with them. And a really great part of it was commenting. I was doing so many comments per day. At a certain point in this, I was actually counting. I was keeping track. I was doing anywhere from 500 to 1,000 comments per day on other people's posts, just so I can bring visibility to my profile. And as a consequence, to my posts, to the content that I
Right.
was already posting and wasn't getting any traction at all. So commenting really was the huge game changer for me. And fast forward, 2 something years forward, 200,000 followers later, the commenting strategies that I've put in place that I've shared with the world, they're quite literally number 1 in the world. The most viewed commenting strategies, the most applied, the most applicable to. LinkedIn featured my commenting strategy for the entire user base on the freaking homepage, right below the place where you write a new post. And yeah, there's millions of views on those posts. There's a whole lot of, stuff happening right now, but I feel like commenting was really the catalyst and the catapult that brought me from, quitting to really just now just enjoying every single moment on the platform and helping people change their life and their business for the better.
That is, you took a commenting to a whole new level, and that's really interesting is what you said about quitting versus, you know what, I think whenever you
Failing,
start to
yeah, failing
compare
versus
yourself.
quitting, yeah,
Yes, yes, and whenever you start to compare yourself to somebody, I think that's you're in trouble. Um, and sticking with it. I've learned a long time ago that just because you're not seeing visibly something, that doesn't mean it's not working. You just have to stay with it and just be consistent. So staying on the engagement part for a second, great example. So I see many, many posts from people I know, and sometimes their posts are so they may be technical. Right, but it's something that may be meaningful to them, or they just know they have to post, so they may hire a PR person, and they just basically are, throwing stuff out there. So, if you what would be an example of an engagement if you're looking at a piece, a post that's sort of technical, you don't really you're not feeling connected to that content, yet you do want to engage in a more meaningful way? Does that make sense?
makes total sense. When it comes to increasing your own engagement on LinkedIn, so increasing the activity on your post, it's kind of funny. There's a paradox that I like to mention, in my keynotes and my workshops, and that is that the engagement on your own posts doesn't start with your post. It actually starts with the posts of other people. So it's the classic, reciprocity effect. If you're out there supporting other people, if you're out there showing up in like underneath other people's posts, they will eventually come back to you and they will eventually start to um give that same energy back, give that same support back on your own content. That's what happened to me. I kind of figured it out pretty early on where I was like, you know what? I'm going to go out there and support like 500, 50, 100 people, 150 people. every single day. I'm gonna be on every single one of their posts. I had a list like that I was religiously following. I knew when people were posting, Danissa. I knew when to be there when someone would post, and I knew if they were getting like a ton of engagement in general, I was like, you know what? If I was early every single day and I really left banger comments, like super insightful, super useful for everyone who, stumbles upon that post. And then they not only see the value in the post itself, they're going to look down at the comment section. They're going to see my comment too. What's going to happen is I will be essentially posting throughout the entire day, but I'm really just commenting on a whim, like really quickly. So
Wow.
I had this entire process in place. Nowadays is just like muscle memory. I follow like, 40, 50 people every single day where we just support each other. And the fun fact is I don't even know half of these people. Like we've never spoken. I've never gotten on a coffee chat with them. I've never exchanged a DM with them even. But the thing is they've shown up for me and I'm just showing up for them. Like I'm just reciprocating. And I feel like doesn't matter how technical your content is on LinkedIn, you can support other people first and
Mm,
then you can expect to get some engagement back. So I always say it's really not the content where this whole engagement conversation starts. It's you actually going out there and supporting others first. Then you can count on people coming back to you. And it actually has an algorithmical background to it too. Like the LinkedIn algorithm is actually pretty smart. I always compare it to a human. It's like if all you're doing is Mr. Yasmin in 2020 and 2021, essentially just posting stuff and expecting people to just magically appear because you feel like, oh, I have this amazing piece of content that everyone should read, it's not going to happen because the
mm.
LinkedIn algo is like, wait a second, he's never doing anything for anyone else. Why would we push traffic his way? Like, that's just a it's a normal question, right? It's a regular
Yeah.
conversation that anyone can have with any other person, but I feel like we can all agree if you're not doing anything for the community, what does that particular community owe you? Nothing. So the LinkedIn algorithm is pretty much the same. It sees your activity across the board. If you're out there supporting others, best believe it's eventually going to feature some of your content and suggest some of your content to other people too. So, yeah, again, if you want to increase your engagement on your posts, I wouldn't focus on the post first. That would be secondary. I would focus on the comments that you do, that you leave and write on other people's posts. And from there on out, then I would look at the posts. But yeah, I'll stop right here for now.
No, but there is so much in there. It goes with this sort of human psychology is if I'm so focused on my post and the amount of likes, and then I project it to my identity or my how I feel about myself, how I show up in the world, you're in trouble. Whereas if you are even if you are stuck in a rut, whenever you redivert attention to somebody else, it's a great way to get out of any sort of a, head trash. And so giving first, and I love this analogy is, okay, you want to be consistent, and we'll talk about content writing in a second, but you want to be consistent with your own posting, but really focus on post, walk away, and really focus on engaging and commenting in a meaningful way on other people's posts. Doesn't matter what they write about. It's about supporting them, building a community, connecting, raising the humanness, so to speak. And I love it because it seems like you have so many, they're not just like these followers that, these cheerleaders. There's a substance. There is a really, really ingrained community, almost building sort of this intimacy, and the quality of these relationships, even though they're virtual. So this is really powerful stuff.
I couldn't agree more. When it comes to building a presence on social media, I always say there's a huge difference between building a following, so getting new followers, and building a community. I feel like followers are there to gain something from you and not necessarily to give something back. But a
Yeah.
community is there either way, whether they get something from you or not. They're there to support, they're there to support one another. So it has nothing to do with you, the author, the sort of founder of the community anymore. It really has a lot to do with the people inside the community, having conversations with one another, supporting one another, meeting new people every single day. but also learning from one another. And that is something that I'm hugely proud of on my LinkedIn and my LinkedIn community. I feel like I can confidently say I have one of the most engaged communities in the world. Every single post, we get like 1,000 plus comments, 2,000 comments, which is crazy. It's nuts. But the thing is, I don't even have to be there. And the people are still going to be commenting under those posts because they feel close to one another. They feel like, again, they're not just following me, they're actually part of a bigger thing. It's a community through and through 100%. And that is a huge difference from just building a following.
Keeping it simple. I cannot help to feel as I read your posts, the cadence, the spacing, the formatting. It's super simple and it almost feels refreshing in a world that tends to overcomplicate, inflate, stimulate. I feel like I'm rapping. It almost feels and sound lyrical. And actually, as a former rap artist, do you think that you're bringing some of that into your writing? The
Absolutely.
flow?
I always say I always say when it comes to writing, everything like I would just say 90% of writing is psychology, right?
Mhm.
But speaking of music, so I used to be a rapper, right? Back in the day,
Yeah.
and I still carry my creative wits with me everywhere I go, whether I'm speaking on a stage, whether I'm writing a new post, whether I'm coaching a client. It's like I'm on stage, I'm presenting, and I'm speaking to the world, like MC, moving the crowd. Essentially, that's what you're doing with every piece of content you put out there. But here's the thing, Denisa, when you write something for millions out there, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, doesn't even matter what the number is. You really want to make it easy and simple for each and every one of them to start reading your content. That's A. B, to continue reading your content all the way till the end. And C, to engage with your content. But remember, I mentioned psychology. There's
Yeah.
a huge thing about rhythm in psychology. And I'll give you the example of songs that we see in the top charts. And I know everyone listening to this, everyone watching this can relate. So, one thing that we keep hearing about current hit songs, like if you take a look at the top 10 right now, doesn't matter if it's YouTube, Spotify, TRL back in the day, whoever, MTV,
Yeah.
what we always say is, oh, all the music these days sounds the same. But here's the thing, 10 years ago, we said the same exact thing. 20, 30, 50 years ago, we were saying the exact same thing. All music these days sounds exactly the same. And there's a reason for it. The most popular music just it leans into the psychological aspect of rhythm. It has a very repeatable pattern, something that
Mm.
is so easy to follow, something that is just, 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. It just
Yeah.
you feel no difficulty following and listening to it. And that is something that I've applied to a lot of my content too. And that is something I coach people when I'm coaching people how to write to do as well. So I have the strategy where I use rhythm in, like, for example, if you're looking at a post, a social media post top down, so you're looking at it from the first line all the way till the end. There's a certain rhythm that you don't even notice unless you like really closely pay attention to it. The rhythm is 1 3 1 3 1 3 and so on and so forth until you break the rhythm eventually. The reason why
Mm.
is our brains, and there's studies on this, our brains get a trigger, right? If they see something that's repeatable, just visually, mind you, again, you as a person, like even consciously, you don't register this. This is all happening inside your brain as a trigger. So as soon as you see something that has a repeatable pattern visually, the brain reads it much faster and with much more ease. So if you're looking at, it from left to right, like if you're reading in an F-shaped pattern, that's what we call it, you're actually reading much more naturally. Like you're reading very smoothly, very calmly until the point where you reach the end of a post and you're like, "Oh, I didn't even feel it. That was really cool. That was really nice. That post was super easy to read. Therefore, it makes it super easy to understand." But here's the thing, Denisa. What you've actually done is the same principle that they use in all the top songs in music. You're just applying rhythm that's very easy to identify, that's very easy to follow, and also very easy to replicate from post to post to post. And that's what they're
Mm.
doing with music as well. So there's, inside of this conversation, I just want to mention one more thing before I go too far. I'm obsessed with, just psychology and writing and all that, as you can tell. There's
Yeah,
one more thing about breaking that pattern, right? So if you're just doing 1 3 1 3 1 3, so on and so forth, and like if especially if your post is like slightly long,
right.
after a while it's just going to start to feel redundant.
Yep.
But songs do not feel redundant. And it's even though that like there's a
Mm.
repeatable pattern, there's something called a hook inside the songs, right? That's
Ah,
the main part. Like that's usually when the drop happens and the beat changes, the rhythm
yep.
changes. That is also something I try to coach people how to do inside of their written content. So for example, if you're just doing 1 3 1 3 1 7, and there's a list of 7 things. You know what that does? That is your drop. That is the main part of your post, actually. So, in the same breath that your brain has this trigger where, oh, this is easy to read, as soon as you break the pattern, that's where attention is sky high because
Mm.
you're breaking the pattern and you're actually pushing all the attention into that list of, in this case, in this example, 7 things. So, breaking the pattern is a technique for you to push attention to the main part of your post. And I'll sometimes do this while like it doesn't even have to be 1 3 1 3 1. It could be like paragraphs of just 3 lines. So 3 3 3, and then I'll just do one.
Yeah.
But in that one line, what I'll write is, listen, only one word. But all of a sudden, like I have your full utmost attention as you're reading the post. Breaking the pattern again is a really beneficial psychological, I don't even want to call it a hack, a trick. It's a technique that
Yeah.
you can use in your writing to really push attention to certain parts of your content. And yeah, rhythm, again, I'm huge on that. And I believe everyone should know about rhythm inside their writing. It makes the content easy to write, but it also makes the content that much more powerful.
That makes perfect sense. That's why it flows. And I just remember I'm just picturing or feeling, not picturing music that I like. It may be a song as it's building up, and you waiting for that beat to drop, and then it's like all over. Hook. That's your secret sauce. I know that. And I've heard you explain it almost as if the hook really you lead in your post by letting the reader know what they will that one thing that they will learn or how well, you obviously have a better way of describing it. How would you explain that? Give me an example of a hook.
Yeah, so the just for the record for everyone listening and watching, so the hook inside the music is the main part of the post somewhere down the line, like in the middle of a song, but the hook inside writing is the actual beginning. So the very first line. So it's a slight difference, even though it's called the same thing. So when it comes to writing LinkedIn hooks, I have a very simple strategy. I don't use any sort of clickbaity tactics. I don't try to overcomplicate it for people. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
My way is just simple. Tell the person what's the main point that you want them to get outside of this post. Like literally ask yourself as you're writing a particular post, what is the one main thing that you want your readers to know? And do not overthink your answer. Like this is key.
Mm,
This is crucial in the process. Just ask
mm,
yourself, what is the main thing from this post that I would like people to know? The first thing that comes to your mind, write it down. I guarantee you that answer can be used as your hook 9 times out of 10 with 0 edits required. 0 edits required. What you're
wow.
doing essentially is because you're giving people the main thing from the post, you're
Yeah.
immediately making the entire post more powerful. You're making it interesting for the reader. And you're not doing this thing that we in marketing call bait and switch. Essentially, if you tell me something in the hook and it's like clickbaity, it's very creative, very mysterious.
Yeah.
And then as I'm reading through the post, I come to find that the post isn't even about the thing that I thought it was about. So this is what we call bait and switch. You're switching the focus from the promise you made in your hook. No, we don't want to do that. My way is again just eliminating bait and switch possibility 100%. Just give the people what the post is about. So, for example, if I'm writing a post about a particular lead gen strategy and I don't know, I made $1 million with it, right?
Yeah,
What's the one main thing that I want you to know about this lead gen strategy? I literally just tell you, I made $1 million by using this one lead gen strategy. Or
simple.
this lead gen
Yeah,
strategy made me $1 million last year. That's a perfect hook. Every single
yeah,
time you just answer that question, like, what's the main thing I want people to know? You're going to get a perfect hook. And then you just continue writing the rest of the post. It's that simple, really. And I just hate it when people overcomplicate things. I try to simplify everything for everyone. So that is one thing about the hooks. It is a huge part of people's writing, and people spend studies have shown that. Fun fact: studies have shown that people spend 50% of their writing when they're writing a social media post. They spend 50% perfecting the hook. With my methodology, you do it in like 6, 7 seconds, so you don't
I
have to
love it.
spend that much time. So yeah, there you go.
Now, this is really powerful. So, I wanted to ask you how you feel about like staying in your lane, so to speak. So, for an example, I have a hyper niche. Um, I have sort of this laser focus professionally on my clients are divorce attorneys, and my company provide a very specialized service that has to do with dividing people's retirement savings in divorces and all the related services around that. But outside of that, I also have a podcast and I have other interests. So what is your belief in terms of what you write about? Should you be sticking should you have the 5 pillars, and write a little bit, just basically write about your interests, or, it really begins with, like, the LinkedIn profile down to your content. What are your thoughts about, the type of things you write about?
So when it comes to picking what you write about on LinkedIn, picking the topics, picking the actual gists of your posts day in and day out, I always say to people, pick a list of three, create a list of three. So 5 content pillars is too much in my opinion, because then again, you're going to be talking about a lot of things. And when people ask you like,
Yeah.
hey, who's Jay? Right? Like, what are they
Yeah.
going to call you? Like, are you a copywriter? Are you a brand strategist? Are you a creative director? Are you a graphic designer? Are you a there's too many things. So you really
Yeah.
want to keep it down to three, in my opinion. And the way to do it really is to have a healthy balance throughout the week. Let's say you're posting 5, 6 times a week. Let's say you're skipping one day or during the weekend. What you can do is talk about each and every one of those topics twice. But the angle that you're tackling those posts from should be different. One of those could be educational. One of those could be personal, something that personally affected you, maybe a story, maybe something that happened with a client. One of those could be social proof, so or testimonial or proof of work type of posts. One of those could be really sort of just opinions. People call them hot takes, but I don't do hot takes. I'll just share an opinion about what I think is going on in the industry, and I'll give people some pointers. So even though that's slightly educational, I feel like it's slightly different from the
Yeah.
standard educational model. And this way, you're actually talking about the same exact thing all the time. But every single time people hear from you, it feels new. And that is
Hmm.
crucial, especially long term on social media. If you're creating content on social media, eventually you're going to fall into this rut of content
Yeah.
creation and burnout and writer's block. And you're going to start to feel like, is what I'm talking about even relevant anymore? Is it even interesting anymore? Is it even valuable anymore? I've spoken about this 500 million times already. Yes, it's still valuable because there's always new people. You just got to keep tackling things from new angles. So,
Hmm.
yeah, even though you might be someone with multiple passions, I just say stick to three. Pick those three passions, whatever they are. Don't do more. Again, it will be too much. And tackle those things from different angles week in and week out. This way, you're going to have a healthy balance. Your audience won't get bored every single time they're here from you. It's going to be something new, something interesting, and most importantly, you won't get bored, and you'll always feel
Mhm.
inspired to produce new content.
Great paradigm shift. My target audience being divorce attorneys, so from their point of view, a little different is, what what might they write about since that market is so saturated, right? There's so many attorneys out there. But I think, you hit a nail on the head. It's I mean, you yourself outside of your profession have so many passions. So pick 3 things, outside of your profession being one, and then 2 other pillars, so to speak, whether it's, working out, traveling, whatever it is that you like to do, and then stick with it and write about it, and there you have a content. So that's really helpful. What would you say is your pet peeve?
Oh, negativity. My pet peeve on social media is negativity. I can't stand it when people do this thing where they say, "Oh, you've heard XYZ thing, but mine is better." In my opinion, that's just a sign of poor writing and super low confidence in what you're actually writing about. Like, why can't you just skip the part where you say, "You've heard this and it's wrong"? Like, just skip that
Yeah,
entire part. Just tell me why your thing is good, right? If your thing is
yeah.
that good, I don't need to be listening about what's wrong. Like, what else is wrong outside of what you're doing, what you're providing, what you're offering, what you're selling. Again, that's just a sign to me about it's a sign of low confidence. It's a sign of just not being able to write something good about what you do, produce high quality content. So you have to resort to this thing, and we call it combative marketing. You're really just combating other authors. So you
Mm,
really just resort to that, and you feel like that's your value. Like you're bashing other, other services, other offers, other products, just so you can say, "Oh, mine is better." No, just skip the preamble, skip all the negativity. Thank you, and just tell me why your thing is good. That's it. So that's my pet peeve. I feel like I talk about avoiding negativity on social media a lot. I talk about kindness a lot. I talk about supporting others instead a lot. So, it's natural for me to just stay out of the negativity and, push that conversation further. I feel like it also improves your writing where every single time people see you, they wanna hear more from you. But if
yeah.
every single time people hear from you, you're this negative bubble, eventually people are gonna start leaving. And then you're also gonna, again, fall into the rut of, "Hey, am I doing something wrong?" "Yes, you are. You're telling us everything is wrong, right?" Everything is wrong, and you're the only option that is right. So I feel like that entire conversation just needs to be stopped. It needs to be skipped. And whoever is doing it, if you're listening, just stop doing it, please. You're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing the industry a disservice. Just tell us why what you're doing is that great, and we're gonna love it, right? No negative context whatsoever, and just keep supporting others, whatever they're doing, and it goes a long way. Kindness goes a long way, and I always say it costs $0, right? Like it actually costs
Yeah.
you time and oftentimes money to speak badly about other people, whereas like you can just avoid it. It just it costs $0 to be kind. That's it. That's the gist of it.
Yeah, that's a great, great message, J2. Uh, on a final note is to end with that because we programmed for a war and a fight, and it takes more work, to be kind for so many people. I'm the same way. To me, I deploy a lot of compassion for people to spend the time to express their negativity, and I do have a sort of my view of authenticity. If you're authentically how would I say that kindly? Not a nice person, just stay out of my feet. So if unless you have something constructive and positive to say, because even if we have opposing views, you can say that and express that respectfully. So um, on a final note, what's next for Hey Jay? Are there any upcoming exciting projects, ventures that you are particularly excited about?
What's next for Hey Jay? Goodness, so many things. I hope. But for now, we're really just building the community out. We're traveling the world, speaking at conferences. I'm doing a whole lot of B2B workshops. I'm being called and hired and I guess called upon from a lot of brands all around the world just to come in and
Yeah.
give trainings and train their entire staff and for their employee advocacy programs for their sales teams. Essentially, everyone is realizing the value of personal branding and what having a powerful personal brand is. And I'm just lucky enough to tell you the truth that I've been able to build my own brand so well. And right on time that now people are coming to me for the advice, they're coming to me for the expertise, and I'm happy to say, like, we're guiding them the right way, we're doing great things, like, the results from our clients, the results for the companies that we're, working with, that we're training, that we're coaching, they're doing amazing, and my whole thing for the future is let's just keep doing more of it, and where whatever that next level is, building a community, building a course, having products, books, who knows? Becoming a president, whatever happens, like, I'm
Yeah.
in. As long as we keep changing people's lives for the better. Honestly, that's all I care about. There's so much knowledge out there, but
Yeah.
you know, impact is the real metric. So I just want to create impact around the world, and that's what we're doing so far. And I'm gonna keep doing it. I promise.
I love it, and I have a feeling we will have you back, and, are you still available for, personal consulting, for people who would wanna use your services?
Yeah. So right now, the only work I do is one on one. So one on one coaching. And we're booking about a couple of months out, 2 to 3 months out, so there is a sort of a wait list for people who might be interested, so if you're listening to this, just shoot me a DM and we'll figure out a time to get started, and, yeah, again, if there's any company out there who wants LinkedIn training and having their entire team enabled to post content on social media, do the right thing, and do sales the right way, I'm here, I'm just one call away, and or I might just see you at a conference somewhere around the world. I'm traveling a lot, so I might just see you somewhere. We might bump into each other in person. So there you go.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I love what you said about teams. Because if you can get your team, your employees on board to also post, again, that's another topic. So there's just so much there. Jay, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure diving into your experiences inside your story. It's been incredibly, incredibly enriching. And really, it just your journey of persistence and consistence and just a power of personal brand. It's just been really, really, really inspiring. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
Most welcome, Denisa. And again, I hope I'll be back. And to everyone who's listening and watching, thank you for following all the way till here. I hope you learned something valuable, and I hope I'll see you soon.
And to our viewers and listeners, to be sure that you follow Jay on LinkedIn, his social media profile, and click on his profile and links below in the show notes, and also how to get a hold of him, book a consultation, and do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Beyond the Bar Podcast. And until next time, stay curious and inspired.